Ted Deveraux and Willie Hammond, thank you so much for joining me on the Risk Rundown podcast. You two, I have dubbed you all a new title. So just listen, just stick with me. You all are Alliant Private Client in-house everything risk mitigation experts. Try putting that on a business card, right?
.com. Perfect.
You're welcome. But no, in all seriousness, thank you so much. You all have been very busy for the past year, right? I mean, we keep you very busy on anything risk mitigation. And today's topic is going to be natural disasters, and we're going to talk about myths versus truth, and it's going to be the hurricane edition. So I know that this is going to be specifically about hurricanes, but I do want to preface for our viewers that the strategies and the concepts of preparedness and kind of everything that we're going to be talking about today can translate into a lot of different scenarios, right? And a lot of different disasters. So with that being said, I'm going to just throw out some statements, and I'm going to ask you all to say myth or truth. Debunk it if it's a myth. Maybe it might be a little hybrid of both. But I want to get your all's pro experts opinions on the statements. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like a game show host.
Perfect.
All right. So the first one is, don't worry. I don't have to worry about my property, my cars, my family. I don't need to prepare for that kind of stuff right now because that's why they give hurricane warnings. I have plenty of time.
Right.
So,
that's very much a myth. That's very much a myth.
Okay.
So
tell me why.
You want to be able to prepare and practice. So one of the things of preparation is prepare before you need to prepare. Prepare before they come on the screen and say, hey, there's a hurricane 7 days out. That's not when you want to prepare. You want to prepare in the off season, when you can go through and check to see what you have in your go bag, what checklists you have, what your different evacuation routes are, because if you wait till they come on TV and say, hey, it's time to prepare, that's when everybody else as well is going to be preparing.
So that's when the generators are low and you can't find one and everything else. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly what Ted said. And the other, that's if you wait till the picture of the storm comes up and it's however many days out, that's the horrors that you see of, 500 cars waiting at the only gas station to fill up your generator, right? And the other problem is, and we've seen it in the past, is if you don't, you run into a house with a flat roof, you run into a house that has gutters. If you're trying to out there clear your gutters the day of the storm or 3 days before the storm and you run into a problem, now there's nothing you can do. So the off season, early in the season, June, May, April, are your gutters clear? Or is your storm drains clear? Is anything you can do? So by all means, that is a crazy myth. The bigger the estate, the larger the property, the more preparation, and you probably have people that have it's not just one person trying to evacuate this house or get it ready. You need to have a plan for your staff. Who's doing what, who's doing where, and whose responsibility for, all the different pieces, by all means.
I mean, what would you say for people that say, that's all great, but my house is a brand new house and it has all of the hurricane resistive glass, and it has all of the hip roof and the different types of things that I need to have physically for it to sustain a hurricane. I mean, what would you say to those people that they don't really have as much to prepare for because they have a newer home?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's a complete myth as well. I mean, yes, they don't have to go out there and install shutters. So, that's a huge advantage because the windows are meant to withstand the storm. But the minute you neglect your landscaping and you have a palm tree, for example, land on your house or fall on your house, doesn't matter how good it is. If it breaks a window, now your house is compromised and it's going to be just as bad as if it didn't have the impact glass in the new construction. So, it starts, like Ted said, it starts in the off season. Is the landscaping secure? Do you have trees? Do you have dead branches? I mean, I've seen that where there was a dead, palm frond hanging off. It fell, it broke a window, the way it went through, and it compromised the integrity of the home. Storm surge, doesn't matter how new your house is. Storm surge, if it's going to come, you're getting wet. So you need to start moving things to the second floor or have an evacuation plan. If you have a lot of art or high-end valuables, you need to get them out of there.
And with regards to the storm surge, one of the things that, if you're in that area, finding a place to move your electrical vehicles to, making sure they're up and out of the way so that they don't get buried in the salt water and then end up burning your house down. So that's one of the things from a prep standpoint is, okay, I'm in an area that I will be affected by storm surge. Where are those garages that I can go park my electric vehicle out?
Right. And the thing is that within the insurance industry in general, especially with Hurricane Ian, found that they had more auto claims because of that than they did, even property claims with some carriers. So it's one of those things that not only is it flooding of a vehicle, but to your point, Ted, the electrical piece of an electric vehicle sparks, ignites fires and that kind of stuff. So just, it's an easy fix, right?
It is an easy fix. And that's where preparation really becomes key. Knowing where you can take it and not just having one spot, because everybody else with electric vehicles is also eyeing that same spot, is, having 2 or 3 options that where you can go to. Not last minute, I'm driving around, where can I do it? Because I'm also supposed to be evacuating.
Right.
So it's having those 2 or 3 spots known.
Okay, so shifting, preparing, right? We all get that we have to they have to prepare months in advance and that kind of stuff. But once they're evacuating and they're preparing for other accommodations and that and getting out of town, what do you all recommend for that kind of stuff?
One of the things is making sure you have a kind of robust checklist of what I need to pack ahead of time. Top of that list is going to be medication, making sure that you have enough water in your vehicle and enough gas in your car, because your evacuation routes are likely going to be traffic jams. So making sure that you have kind of enough snacks, food, and water to make that trip. But then also knowing, what is that 4-hour, 6-hour, 8-hour range that you need to be in, and what are the possible cities that you want to go to? Because again, it's preparation. It's having those options, because a lot of times those options are already going to be filled up.
Exactly. But the other one is, along with what Ted is, it's the preparation of your animals as well, right? Do you have a place for your dog? Do you have a place for your cat? Can they go to do you have a hotel that allows a pet? Horses becomes another whole problem if you live in that Wellington area of Palm Beach.
Yeah.
But do you have an evacuation plan? Now you're far enough inland that they're probably fine, but still, there's a lot of pieces there where people abandon their animals because they haven't thought of the other idea. So, once it is time to go, have you thought all the way through between pets or kids or medicine or, and did you leave in enough time that you're not just stuck in traffic? Exactly.
So what if somebody just says, I'll just file a claim for any of the losses that I get? Willie, go.
Well, I mean, that one's a clear myth. And a lot of it is due to the insurance industry in the hurricane prone regions, right? Some of these homeowners policies, it's worth a discussion with their account executive, their broker, to understand, what does my policy read? But they might have a hurricane deductible that's very large, right? A percentage of their home. It could be $1 million. It could be whatever. So you can't just rely on what's insurance going to do. Yes, the insurance is there to help you on a complete catastrophic loss, but on small claims, you might still be on the hook for it due to your deductible. So you can't, complete myth. You can't do that. it's worth conversation at the beginning of the season with your account executive that says, what do I do? What is my deductible? Do I have other things?
And also, I mean, what is actually covered, right? I mean, hurricane, everybody kind of thinks about wind immediately, but it's the wind-driven rain. It's the storm surge, like you mentioned. That could be flood, right?
Right. Different coverage. Exactly.
You know, there could be a lot. It could be mold after, if you can't get into your home for weeks or months, and then there's a moisture issue. There could be a mold damage. There could be lots of different scenarios that it's just better to kind of get your advisor in from the very beginning, so that they can kind of help you read through that contract and what is covered and what is not.
100%.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
So if you all would give just maybe 2 key top of the list things besides preparing in the off season that people don't necessarily think about, what would you each say?
One of the biggest things that I see, it's after the storm. Let's say the house survives the storm, but now you're without power for days, weeks, a long period of time. To your mold question, I don't think a lot of people understand, the air conditioning system in the home is what removes the humidity out of the house. If you don't have backup electrical power, you can't do it. So that is one of, yes, your house is designed and it has the right windows and it has the right, it's built the correct way. But if you don't have backup electrical power to help with that air conditioning system, to keep the refrigerators on, to keep the home humidity down, and enough fuel, whatever it is, gas, diesel, propane, natural gas, to keep it running, we see a lot of claims where the house was fine and 3 weeks later it was completely full of mold. And the other one that I run into all the time, and you deal with it on the wildfires as well, and a complete devastation is there a home inventory? Do you have a video recording of your home? Have you taken an accurate inventory in case all goes bad, and the home is destroyed? You need to remember what was there. So, it's very valuable to take, even if it's a quick video, where you kind of narrate your way through each individual room and it's uploaded to the cloud. You can remember the couches, chairs, antique armoire, whatever it might be. But I hear that one a lot after the catastrophic storms or fires or event, where people don't know. They have no idea what they had, or they can't remember. So that's a big thing in any area, from hurricane, tornado, wildfire, whatever. And even if you're not even in a zone like that, you should have a fairly intricate, or at the minimum, photos of each room or a video telling what you had to remind you, because you're going to have to put a claim in, and you can't just say, you need to have inventory.
Stuff. You can't have stuff in your claim.
Exactly. I have a lot of stuff.
One of the other things to think about, after the storm or even during the storm, is communication. A lot of times the cell towers go down, your Wi-Fi's out, you have no way to communicate. If you have an iPhone 14 or later and you have the ability, it says SOS across the top, you do have the ability to send messages to and from family members, so you can communicate through satellites, even when there's no cell tower communication. You can't do photos, you can't do calls, but you can send messages, and that's kind of key. Yeah. One of the things that Willie touched base with, that just mentioned, is tornadoes. With the hurricanes that just come through, even outside the cone, we had some 30 plus tornadoes touch down this last season, which caused a lot of devastation. So that's one of the things that during that preparation time, before the hurricanes even got there, tornadoes were touching off. So people need to be aware of that. And that's where preparedness comes into play, and getting out early, and then not waiting to the last minute.
And that's why you two, honestly, are so important to our business and our client base, right? Because you two have all of these things that over the years of experience, that you've gained all this knowledge with all of the different scenarios that you've seen, that it's really helpful for us. Every time I talk to one of you or both of you, I always learn something new. And no offense, but you all kind of scare the daylights out of people. So I appreciate you telling us some positive things to do.
We also try and bring a little bit of calm during the event.
Solutions. I like the solution-based comments.
Solutions.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, I just want to thank both of you all for joining me. I know that you all are both really busy, but your insight is so valuable, not only to us here at Alliant, but to our clients, right? So thank you both so much for joining me on the Risk Rundown.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.